Hi, chat. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Thank you all for being here. It's a Wednesday night, and I've got a dog with severe anxiety because his human is missing. And that's right, chat. I am not the primary human. No. That award goes to 2.0, the lovely future Mrs. Martin 2.0. I don't get that. So, but anyways, he's like, I'll show affection to you, fat man, because you're all that's here. So he has been my shadow all freaking day long. Clyde just fought out the ninjas. Yeah, he's been sleeping on and off most of the day. So why is your ear all boogery? There you go. Anyways, welcome to the show, chat. Welcome to the show. This is a continuation of Thursday. As we talked about, this is the saga of Fox Varian. And what happened to her at the hands of some Joseph Mengele types. And this is kind of a forerunner of what's to come. Did I get a haircut? No, I get a haircut tomorrow. Thank you, though, Maddie. I didn't know if you're being sarcastic or not, but no. I get a haircut, actually not tomorrow, Friday. Friday, I will get a haircut. So. Clyde did not have a sex change. No, he did not. Shirley Jerome says, yes, the sign is a subtle joke. Shop's called Sneed's Feed and Seed. Oh. Yes, thank you. Yes. Eventually, that's going to go before the court, the Supreme Court. I want Clarence, it's like I hope the Farms ends up in front of the Supreme Court. This case, it gets discussed a lot. Because I would love for Clarence Thomas to say, what is the sneeding thing? What are these farms and why are they full of kiwis? So, can I set you down, Bubber Bear? Chat. You know what would make Clyde happier? Some subs, but you know what? That's okay. I'm going to set you on the ground, Bubber Bear. Are you ready? You ready to get set down on the ground? You're going to look at chat and be like, help me, chat. All right. All right, guys. So, yes, this is a continuation of what we talked about on Thursday. And it is the something that's going to be happening a lot more probably. And before we get too far into EDW Raptor for 5 subs. Yes, as if Clarence Thomas doesn't have an account already. Yes. Yes, counsel. What is a lol cow? I'm sorry, what's that, Justice Thomas? What is a lol cow? Yes, that'd be great. That'd be great. Matthew Harding gets 5 minutes to make his argument for the Sony v. Cox. They rehear it. And it's like, if Josh is paying, we're paying for it, the Farm should Harding just go up there and just start screaming, Nick! Oh. All right, but let's get started here. If you guys, before we get too far into this, we're going to start off where I found this stuff. And that is at, it's this guy here. His name's Benjamin Ryan. He is, his Substack is called Hazard Ratio. And he is a reporter, been on NBC, been in Washington Post, all these different places. He actually knew about this case and he found out what happened, found the documents before the court sealed the case. So if you go to try to find this online, everything is sealed. He was able to, zoink a bunch of documents and got away with it. Kurt, hi, Kurt. Why are we streaming at 720p? This is grainy. I don't know. Where am I? I thought it'd be in a 1080, but Oh, well, apparently it's that's weird. Whatever. Whatever, chat. The dog gets bandwidth, yeah. So hold on one second, chat. I need to move something. All right, chat. There we go. You're 720. You're 720 maxing. Yes, guys. Kurt watched the oral arguments for Alex Murdaugh today. I know Emily Baker covered it. I know other people pretended to cover it. And we'll probably cover that maybe on Saturday. I heard it was really good, so we'll take a look. The dogs are protesting. Yeah, well, that's Lainey. She's protesting everything. But from here, Ben Ryan got all the documents that I think are pretty relevant. Not every single one, but close enough. Close enough, good enough for government work on this. And is Alex going to get another trial? I don't know. I heard it's pretty compelling. Remember, at the end of the day, the odds are still against him. I would like to think he will, but we'll find out when we watch it. I don't know. We'll take a look. I don't know because I didn't watch it. I've heard it was good at some points. And from here, though, we are going to move on to the one thing I will tell you Ben Ryan has done that's actually really good here is this. And this is a lawsuit tracker of about 30 different court cases that are going on for people who have had transitions and they're suing medical groups and doctors. One of the big ones here, this is Chloe Cole versus Kaiser Permanente. This is a big one. This is a very, very big one here. And you guys need to keep this one, put a pin in this one. This one's a big one. This is being done by Harmeet Dillon's office, the Dillon Law Group. It's really just started. It's not super old as far as cases are going. Kaiser Permanente right now is in the process of demanding they want arbitration on this. So, and the trial date's set for April 2027. So we've got over a year before this happens. This is the big one. This is the big lawsuit for Chloe Cole. There are, speaking of people with dubs today, dub maxing it is David from Making Law Simple. I know many people are trying to claim, well, it's no big deal. It's only a recommendation. It's like, who do you guys think is going to, they listen to their magistrates. They hire them for a reason. So it's a forerunner of things to come. So, but yes, congrats to David getting some money out and making somebody pay. So congratulations there. Now, moving on to the rest of the stuff. There are a lot of these lawsuits that are going, but you notice some of them have been resolved. Some of them have been dismissed. Some of these were dismissed to a partial settlement. So what is that settlement? We don't know. It was dismissed. Some of these have notices of appeal that have been filed. Some of these have been dismissed pursuant to settlement. One of them was dismissed due to a statute of limitations. And that's for Morgan Hale. Morgan Hale was, a victim of this. And they tried to sue, statute of limitations problems. And then we have, down here, Natalie Dunlap, who's suing on behalf of her son. Is a death case due to a pulmonary embolism. But you can see there's a lot of stuff going on here. There's a lot these cases that are going. I think it's really important to go over. This other one, Luca Hine, from what I understand, reading through Ben Ryan's stuff, this is another big one. It's set for January and February 2027. There's a lot going on here. This is actually really good to keep track of. And like I said, follow Ben Ryan on Twitter. It's a very good follow. That's how I learned about all this had happened. But the one we're going to focus on tonight, chat, is Fox Varian or Varian. I don't know how she pronounces her name. But ultimately, yes, she won a $2 million judgment. And this is big. It's big. Does it set precedent? It's not that it sets precedent because it's just at the trial level, but it introduces the idea people can sue for this, and getting awards isn't ridiculous because these ones that are dismissed pursuant to settlements or whatever's going on, there's binding arbitration. We don't know what happened in those, and we'll never know because it's all quiet. So, and my client got yelled at yesterday. Yeah. So from here, let's get into the case. And how does it start? Well, it starts out in the state of New York. And from here, it starts out as Fox. And Fox is not actually Fox's birth name. Fox is actually named Isabella. But Fox has gone through a lot of shit. So now she's Fox. And it's Fox, and she's suing Kenneth Einhorn. Einhorn is Finkel, Finkel is Einhorn, and Simon Chin. Einhorn's a psychologist and psychiatrist, and then Chin is a plastic surgeon. So this is just all the basic information here, and we've shown this in New York. This is how your stuff gets filed. So the next page gets us on to the actual things here. It was the first cause of action. So they point out this all occurred in the state of New York. You're like, all right, fair enough. County of Westchester, so suburban New York City. So what are they showing here? Well, there was Kenneth Einhorn is a physician licensed to practice psychology in New York. Kenneth Einhorn, is a PhD and was worked for Carmel Psychological Associates and was part of it. And they talk about, who owned all this. This is the basics of it, so you understand what's going on here. The next page gets into Simon Chin is a doctor licensed to practice medicine in New York State. And they talk about, well, what do they do? He's also an employee of Caramount Medical. Huh. When we go back to, you're like, wow, so there's like medical groups involved. Yeah, and as we talked about before, there's a lot of insurance money involved in paying for this stuff. It's big business. It's big business. Now they talk about that the plaintiff was a defendant of these guys from April 16, 2017 to on or about September of 2022. And then for Chin, she was a patient from 2019 to about 2020. And they point out here that they rendered medical and surgical care and treatment to Fox. And as a medical malpractice lawsuit, this is where we get to the good stuff. They owed a duty of care to treat her in accordance with good and accepted medical standards. Remember, this is a medical malpractice case. And guys, these are tough. Med mal is a very tough thing to win on. It's very, very hard. That's why the attorneys that do it, it's kind of their bag. Like the guys who do it, yeah. So they point out that the employees, the defendants, were negligent and careless in their medical and surgical care. And as a result, she suffered serious personal injury, conscious pain and suffering, mental anguish, emotional distress, trauma, and loss of enjoyment of life, the joie de vivre, which is all permanent. There's another cause of action, and they go through all of this. They failed to inform Fox of the risk, hazards, and alternatives connected with the treatment rendered. That way she could give informed consent. So not only is it medical malpractice, but there's also informed consent issues here. They point out that reasonably prudent people in Fox's position wouldn't have undergone the treatment. And what happened to Fox when she was 16? She underwent a complete double mastectomy. So yeah, as the memes go, a minor got her tits lopped off. We're told, hey, wait. That doesn't happen, though. Remember, guys, that doesn't happen. That's what they say. Actually, it never happens. Here's a thing that happened. They failed to adequately inform her of the risk, hazards, and alternatives. And it was approximate cause of her injuries. There was no informed consent to the treatment. And and that's their initial complaint. That's the initial complaint here, chat. Okay? Now, as the case progressed, we ended up getting a little bit more information out of this, which was kind of helpful to us because we needed it. We needed this here. And the defendants eventually moved for summary judgment as the case went on. And the court, we had a bunch of documents and things that got brought in. And what happened here, the court ended up putting together a decision. And remember, this is limited because we don't have everything. Now, obviously, the doctors are going to say, we did what we had to do. We gave her a top surgery. They didn't do the fake, like, if you guys ever seen what they do for trans women who want to become men, they basically take like a chunk of tissue off your arm and they sew it so it looks like a fucking tube of like ground meat, and it like hangs off of your abdomen as like a fake penis. I'm not joking. That's, you could Google that. That's literally what the fuck they do. That's literally what the fuck they do. It's like, it's a thing. Why is this? I hate it when it buffers out and I pause it. I had paused MLC. Yes, Medicare and BitChute. Yes. It's really fucking bad. It's really fucking bad. I'm not telling you if you don't understand what I'm saying. It's really barbaric shit. It's really barbaric shit what we do to these people. But literally, it looks like a tube of fucking ground meat that they cut off of your arm and leg, and it's cursed. It's absolutely cursed. So the they point out that they did whatever they could. They claim that they came to us, and ultimately, Einhorn kind of pushed her through it. And Chin had to give her 2 surgeries. The first time, he didn't remove enough breast tissue. And then there was a second one, and they had to give another one. And ultimately, Fox is saying, wait, I never had, I had body dysmorphia, not gender dysmorphia. So that, she had problems and we didn't really address it. That's the big issue here. That is the big fucking issue with this. It's absolutely insane what they did to these people. Now, they claim, well, at the time she wasn't upset. But they do bring up, and this comes into, this is out of the statement of facts where they're asking the defendant's motion for summary judgment. We're not going to go through it because it's long, but we have to piece together the court documents because remember, we can't get them because they're all sealed. There was a bill of particulars eventually. So what did Dr. Chin fail to do? There was no proper medical history. Okay. And what that would mean, they failed to assure the plaintiff lived as her preferred gender for a sufficient length of time before the surgery. It's kind of a big deal. It's kind of a big deal. How long had Fox lived as a man? Like less than a year. It's a 16-year-old. They did this to her. They failed to assure she lived as her gender after the hormone therapy before performing surgery. They performed surgery before she tried hormone therapy. They improperly performed the surgery, and that's the thing. They had to do it twice. They didn't remove enough breast tissue. They failed to take into account her pre-existing psychological issues and cognitive conditions. Remember, we've seen this more and more and more. I think it's Abigail Schreier. Or God, what's her name? A lot of the women who do this are basically highly autistic women who suffer from some level of mental retardation. A lot of these women who go male to female are just super fucking autistic. They performed a contraindicated surgery. They incorrectly did it. They failed to remove enough tissue. They failed to remove enough skin. They failed to discuss the ability to consent with other physicians, including the psychiatrist. Peter Keys, yes, you mean they are women? Yeah, women who want to become men. The male to or the female to male side of it, a lot of times is just really autistic girls. Yeah, sorry, I went the wrong way around. They didn't obtain letters of clearance from behavioral health people. They performed surgery on a minor. They did surgery without a diagnosis of gender dysphoria. They failed to discuss transition process, surgical goals. There were no mental health assessments. They didn't consult with her mental health professionals. They operated without a well-documented diagnosis. They operated without coexisting mental health concerns being addressed. Improper surgical techniques. Like, this goes on and on and on about what these guys didn't fucking do right. And Fox did give a deposition. It's like 40 some pages. We may do it another night. I don't like we'd be going all night, and I don't want to go all night. I've got something at around 11 anyway that I have to go do. So I'm gonna going on with Lord Raptor, because I guess EVS is threatening to sue Yellow Flash, and they'd like me to come talk about it. So I'll be going there around 11. Caleb saying this has nothing to do with autism. No, but a lot of women who get wrapped up into the transgender nonsense and get pushed are women with autism. Like, that's an actual diagnosed thing that's happened. Like, they've done it. No, there will not be a model stream. Like I said, I'll be going on with Lord Raptor Jesus and some other people who are kind of dabbing on the death of Comicsgate. Well, that'll be at 11. But they point out that Fox testified when she was 12 or 13 when she said she felt like a boy sometimes and felt like a girl. You know, she said that, you know, the Fox's mom said she wanted to be a male around 14 or 15. You know, she said she felt like a boy in 2018. This is the defense bringing this all up. Being a girl gave her so much anxiety, she told multiple people she would kill herself if she didn't have top surgery. Yeah, and you know what we should do? We should make sure, let's fucking medicate you. Let's let you see a psychiatrist. Now, this is the defense claiming this. Now, obviously, Fox says, no, we never fucking said any of that. We never said any of that. But you could see what's being alleged here. You know, that she threatened to kill herself and that she might commit suicide if she didn't consent to this. No, it's 11. It's 11 tomorrow. 11 tonight. It's 11 tonight over on Raptor Jesus. I'll redirect us over there, and I'll make sure you guys have the link. Yeah, 16-year-old girls want to kill themselves over everything. Yeah. So ultimately, they want this case to be dismissed. And we're not going to go through the rest of it because they have a bunch of cope here. If we get time to, we will. But we've got expert opinions and stuff. Now, this is a doctor. This is from Dr. Einhorn, and it's for Rowan Bazile. This is what Fox identified before she was before Fox was Fox. Fox was Rowan, and before Fox was Rowan, Fox was a couple different names, but it had gone by the birth name of Isabella. I will provide the link, don't worry. But notice, it says, to whom it may concern, I'm working with Rowan Bazile since 2017. At that time, she was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. I told you so. Told you so. And they said, for the next 18 months, we worked on anxiety and everything here. In 2018, Rowan shared that she felt she was transgendered and felt much more comfortable being identified as male. That November, there was a huge boost in his anxiety, as evidenced by his participation in a movie production or play production. As the fall continued, anxiety returned. He was being misgendered by both his, school, like his students and teachers. And he reported seeing anxiety when he looked in the mirror and saw his breast. But remember, it's all her. It's all her. At this time, I've diagnosed her with social phobia unspecified in body dysmorphic disorder. Throughout treatment, he's attended sessions. We're currently working on these things, developing an outcome focus, improving emotional regulation, and eating healthy. So obvious, look, there's eating disorders. There are eating disorders. There's all kinds of things that are going on with this. This is just absolutely insane. Body dysmorphia remains a primary barrier to treatment. I think there's a lot of problems here. Moreover, the significance of the barrier, her struggle with her body, has increased in recent months as she has not been able to wear her binder due to rib pain. Instead, she has worn oversized clothing and hopes that no one notices. Though it is often the case, 10 days ago, she reported she bumped into a boy or bumped into a female peer during play practice, where the girl felt her breast as she caught herself, leaving her extremely anxious that she would out her. And it says, given the above, I am in support of undergoing top surgery. That's all it took for the psychiatrist to say, go ahead and mutilate this girl. This is all it took right here, guys. This is all it took. This is all it took to butcher this girl. It's all it took. Fucking brutal. It's fucking barbaric. Fucking barbaric. Fucking barbaric what they did. Kay says, wear a binder. They couldn't wear a binder. I'm assuming Fox's titties were a little too big for a binder. Guys, they talk about a binder up here. You're not even listening to me. The rib pain because of the binder right here. Increased rib pain because of wearing the binder. The binder was probably hurting. So, we never listened, Sean. I know. It's always your fault, chat.
Always blame chat. When Sean doesn't share the screen, your fault. When you hate the Jannies, you're the Janny.
That's right, chat. Always blame chat. We couldn't make Alec Baldwin do it, apparently. The AI software got really upset. But yes, always blame chat. Always blame chat. Oh. Well, Kay, actually, guys, I will give credit that Kay spurned that idea where she said always blame chat. And I saw it all capitalized, and I'm like, that's out of Glengarry Glen Ross. So thank you, Kay. Trenches and Tread says, I want to see me wearing a binder. And that binder would have to be on with a fucking ratchet strap from a semi-truck. So anyways, just think about this. Think about this. They butchered this girl over fucking nonsense. It's sad. And then this is from the doctor, Dr. Chin. Chief complaint, gender reassignment. It's a 16-year-old biological female was attempting surgery for gender reassignment. 5'7", 124 pounds. Probably about a B-cup breast, and she would like to perform mastectomies and undergo gender reassignment in order to align herself. You know, started 3 to 4 years ago and has guarded through this with the support of parents. Has gone through a lot of psychological anguish while she's been transitioning. And so she has already done her research and is expecting short scar breast reduction surgery. Just think about this, chat. Fucking 16-year-old. Past medical history, none. There's a family history of breast cancer in the grandmother as well as the aunt. This is the guy trying to cop out here, covering his ass. Allergies, no known drug allergies. Social history does not stunk. Family history, Review of systems. Negative for anything here. Physical examination, alert-oriented, no apparent distress. The neck is supple. Examination shows that he has approximately a B cup and has some amount of skin there. He does have some fair fibrous breast tissue. Okay, and they discussed options, which included possible 2-stage process, which is liposuction and then skin resection, versus a 1-stage process, which is a short scar breast reduction. And it says she understands there will be scars, a vertical scar in particular. Yes, you end up with the zipper tits, sadly, and which may be permanent. The risk and benefits explained. You look like Elliot Page. That the bleeding, infection, hematoma, hypertrophic scarring, keloiding, suture abscesses, asymmetry, and need for further surgery. You know, there's all kinds of wound issues there. They spent over 30 minutes. With patient in face-to-face time, over half time spent discussing the issues. That's it, 30 minutes, and we're going to cut your titties off. 30 minutes. 30 minutes. 30 fucking minutes. 30 minutes, guys. 30 minutes. Okay, and this was October 15th, 2019. Okay. There was another update. November 4th. November 4th. It says the patient is approved for gender reassignment surgery, discussing the options. They talk about, once again, everything. It says gender reassignment pre-op surgery. We discussed if she wants a 2-stage. Also, they talk about all the things that are going to happen here. That's it. $30 minutes. Irreversible. Fucking butchery. Irreversible butchery. Brewberry says just breast augmentation surgery is only about 30 minutes. Yes, but this is for a completely life-altering event that's non-reversible. For a child. Absolute butchery. Absolute fucking butchery. Absolute butchery. Absolute butchery. Yeah, makes lifelong patients. There is the amount of money the industry provides in this for insurance. There's all kinds of insurance money involved. So from here, there were doctors. There were doctors that were provided who came in and gave expert testimony for Fox. And these doctors, what they say is absolutely fucking scathing. It's absolutely scathing what these doctors did. And I got to make sure I've got you guys can hear Lainey singing the song of her people. Now, this is, this one I believe is this the, okay, yes. This is a guy named Dr. John Peretti. I don't know how you pronounce it. He's in New York City. He's a plastic surgeon in New York City. And what does he do? Well, he points out this is his expert opinion and his expert affirmation here. And we're not going to read through all the facts because we're really kind of, we've kind of touched on all the facts here. Now, what happens? He says, I'm a licensed physician, duly licensed to practice. I completed a residency at New York Medical College, and then I spent time doing a plastic surgery residency at the Cleveland Clinic Foundation. Whoop, whoop. One of the best hospitals in the world. He says, I'm board certified in plastic surgery and have been since 2000. I maintain my own practice in New York City, maintain privileges at multiple hospitals. He says, I'm familiar with treatments of patients with body dysmorphia and gender dysmorphia who wish to undergo gender reassignment surgery. So notice he's not just, some hack at this. I've done it. My practice includes reassignment procedures, including double mastectomies, sometimes referred to as a top surgery, from women who seek to transition. I'm familiar with the role of a plastic surgeon. I'm familiar with the interactions between the plastic surgeon and mental health professionals treating the patient in connection with the surgeries. The standard of care and the collaboration between the plastic surgeon and mental health provider. He says this is a med-mal, and that's medical malpractice action, also known as med-mal, of the then 16-year-old plaintiff. And he says, it's my opinion that there is a departure from the standard of care for Dr. Chin to perform the surgery. And they point out it's a diagnosis of body dysmorphia, which is not an indication for surgery. It's my further opinion that even if this teenage patient had gender dysmorphia or dysphoria, the necessary diagnosis for surgery, Dr. Chin should have declined to perform because, per the standard of care, a surgeon should not operate on an adolescent seeking reassignment surgery absent a compelling reason. Once again, they're cutting on fucking kids. They're cutting on fucking kids. Remember, this isn't happening, but if it happens, it's a good thing. They point out that the patient had not attempted several reversible and partially reversible interventions, which are prerequisites. And 3, the patient had not lived in the desired gender publicly for a sufficient period. Nothing at all happened correctly here. Nothing at all. And she was 16, chat. Think about how fucked this is. Chloe Cole, that one case I cited above, she went through a ton of surgery from 13 to 17. These children have been butchered. Absolutely butchered. And he says, in my opinion, that the departure from the standard of care is, is based upon the, and he starts when he goes further here, the inadequate letter support. He's like, the letter support was bullshit that he received. The lack of communication with her mental health team, the inadequate communication with her parents, and in the absence of gender dysphoria, it's my opinion that Dr. Chin failed to ensure that she was informed of the risk, the benefits, and alternatives. And they failed to have extensive conversations with the patient, her mother, and her psychologist regarding the possibility that surgery may not fix this, or that it can lead to regret later. Remember, 30 minutes. 30 minutes. 30 minutes. That's all they did. "30 minutes." So he says each and every opinion is provided with a reasonable degree of medical certainty. And he says, I've reviewed my treatment records, the letter of support by Dr. Reinhorn, which we read. There's deposition testimony, as well as my education, training, experience as a surgeon. When it comes out here to pertinent facts, we're not going to read through all the facts here because the facts have been kind of discussed already. What we do, and this is where you notice we've skipped a lot of pages here. And it talks about ultimately finally getting to the surgery. They say per the operative report, he advised the risk and benefits of the procedure, and all the risks were explained. None of the risks noted, including warning of the effect on her psychological condition, that it might not resolve the problem. It said following the procedure, she had excess skin, which needed second surgery, which is ultimately performed by Dr. Laurel Chandler. Subsequently, Fox lived as a male for several years until she reached adulthood and began to experience regret. So the opinions. And once again, this is Dr. Mengele level shit. It's my opinion that the defendants, and particularly Dr. Chin, departed from the standard of care and treatment. At the outset, he failed to contain an adequate history from the patient, failed to appreciate her pre-existing psychological conditions, namely her autism. Like I told you guys, and Sitch and Adam talk about this at length, a lot of these women are really fucking autistic, and they're able to be messed with. They have depression and they have social phobias. A combination of these diagnoses with the reported diagnosis of dysmorphia, where the patient's requesting top surgery, should have prompted Dr. Chin to further investigate the cognitive abilities. Oh, all right. Sorry, chat. Yes, if Mengele was a virtue signaler. Yes. Yes. Yes, Brewberry's works in a plastic surgeon's office. She helps women get bigger titties. So. You know, the psychological diagnoses, her social history, and aptitude. If he had taken a complete medical and social history, he would have learned the patient was having difficulty with transitions due to her autism, difficulty controlling her emotions, ongoing skills therapy, and avoided social situations. These factors tend to make performance of gender reassignment more risky because nothing's working. And there's a high risk it will not alleviate the feelings associated with gender dysmorphia. At the time of Fox's first encounter, there were numerous factors indicating she wasn't a proper candidate, all of which the doctor overlooked. She had not lived as a male fully and publicly for a year or more. She had not attempted the reversible or partially reversible interventions, including hormones, progestins, or other medications to suppress puberty. Fox had also refused hormone therapy. She couldn't tolerate binding. And the standard of care requires the patient take non-surgical treatment modalities before pursuing a permanent surgical intervention. Just think about that. She fucking they didn't do anything for this girl. They did nothing for her. They did nothing for her. This is like Tavistock level butchery. And sadly, she's not going to be the only one. He neglected to speak to the referring and treating psychologist. By Dr. Chin's own admission, he never spoke to Dr. Einhorn about the patient. Buddy. Like I said, guys, we don't need to see everything to figure this out. Ben Ryan was able to, he grabbed enough documents we could piece this together. And I will say, I understand Ben Ryan's not a lawyer, but I would have grabbed everything. But yes, this is the big stuff here. Real Maximera says, Chin. Hurrah, Max. Also, congratulations to the chrysanthemum throne. May the far-right party, the Liberal Democrat Party, which is the right-wing party, with its resounding success of the Japanese parliament. May you make full-scale aircraft carriers now and help us defeat the Chinese. Banzai! Max says Chin is a Chinese surname, but the word chin in Japanese is a slang for penis. Nice. Dr. Dick. I thought Max is American. Max is a man of many hats, but he lives in Japan. He is Meme Copium's hold on here. No, Max operates out of the Kokubu Sosho, the Japanese defense ministry and chief of staff. His job is to handle Meme Copium. Meme Copium's a Japanese secret weapon. And I only know that because of I only know that from Splinter Cell. Yes, he's the Scooper's sweeper. Yes. But let's get back. Let's keep going here, chat. Let's keep going. And it said Chin departed and accepting a woefully inadequate letter of support. Didn't even include the proper diagnosis. The letter of support referenced several concerning diagnoses: autism, social phobia, and body dysmorphia. But none of these are treated with surgery. Simply stated, the standard of care requires that you have gender dysphoria, not body dysmorphia. And that diagnosis was clearly missing. And chat, we'll go back. We can go back to that letter. We can go back to that. Oh, I think those letters, like it wasn't there. It wasn't there. It wasn't there, guys. Like, it wasn't there. It wasn't there. And you're like, well, what the hell do we do? Go back. We'll go back to this letter. We'll go back to this letter from Dr. Einhorn. The psychological associates. So what happened here? Body dysmorphic disorder. Body dysmorphia. Body dysmorphia. Completely fucking wrong. Completely fucking wrong. Remember, they butchered this girl. They butchered her. It's nowhere in Dr. Einhorn's records and nowhere in letter support. Body dysmorphia and gender dysphoria are distinctly different conditions with different acceptable treatment modalities. It says, per the testimony of the plaintiff psychologist, which is also submitted in opposition to this motion, body dysmorphia is a mental health condition where the patient will obsess over a non-existent flaw or a minor non-existent flaw in their appearance. It need not be gender-related at all. Yeah, there are people who want to be paralyzed. They don't like their legs. They don't like a lot of different things. You might want a nose job. You might want a boob job. You might want cock enlargement. People who are short, they want that thing where they break your legs and they make you taller. So, the doctor testified that he essentially interpreted the letter of support to mean and felt comfortable moving forward. He's like, I interpreted it. He's like, oh, I thought they meant X. Notice that, guys. That's a doctor who's performing irreversible surgery on a child. And it's just like, well, I met with her for 30 minutes and we kind of fucking winged it. Yeah. Well, Noxic, yes, I agree. Yes. Circumcision, yes, but nothing you can do about it if it's already happened. They can't sew it back on. And they say because he performed his own assessment of the patient, he concluded she suffered from gender dysphoria. He made his own assessment. The plastic surgeon made his own mental health assessment. His own mental health assessment. Yeah, that's unacceptable and a departure from the standard of care. You need to rely upon mental health professionals. You're not trained in mental health counseling or diagnosing mental health. Yeah, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do that. Also, Max, you didn't notice I was talking about the Kokobu Sosho? Or the Sosho? Like, I thought you'd be, like, flattered I was talking about that. I thought you'd be all about that. You'd be flattered that I noticed what it was. Yeah. It's the Japanese Defense Military Headquarters. But think about this. The doctor just made his own fucking thing up here. Yes. Yes. So. Yeah, and Waffles is correct. I spoke with an oral surgeon about dental surgery for 2 hours. I talked to my dentist for probably 1.5 to 2 hours, and I'm getting an orthodontist involved. Yeah. When I tore my patella tendon on my knee, I spent about 45 minutes with my doctor, and then I spent another 45 minutes with my doctor. And he was just going through, look, he's like, how bad is it? And I had to try to walk without all of it, and I had things bracing me up. And we went through it. And obviously with that, it's like, well, you can't walk anyway, so you can't make it worse. But we went through everything. But yeah, exactly. And they said Dr. Chin should have contacted Einhorn. And if it was not, the diagnosis was in fact body dysmorphia, that she should have been denied surgery. And he failed to confirm the correct diagnosis and substituted his own judgment. JLR says the parents still had the final say. The doc told them it was okay. They weren't making informed consent either. They couldn't make informed consent for their child because this doctor's just fucking around. Yes, fecal is Einhorn, yes. My PRK surgery is several days of appointments over 2 months before it happened. Yeah. You know, yeah. And it says, even if the letter from Einhorn included and it says the treating mental health professional is a departure from standard of care, which result in the performance of an incorrect and unnecessary surgery. And it says, even if the letter from Einhorn included a diagnosis of gender dysphoria, the standard of care requires you have a discussion with the psychologist to ensure there's a complete psychiatric workup. And he never did that. Yes, the doctor's job is to educate. It's like an attorney's job. I have to educate you so you can make an informed decision. You have to have informed consent. And these guys didn't do their job. What were they chopping off? They chopped off this girl's tits when she was 16. She had a mastectomy. He admits he did not speak to the doctor. They say, in addition to letter support, the plastic surgeon should confirm they've lived this way for a while. And in this case, should have been over 1 year. It should have been over a year. The surgeon should also ensure the patient has undergone hormone therapy, as it's required by the standard of care. And he failed to obtain an adequate history to verify this. If he had spoken to Fox's psychologist, he would have learned she did not live fully and publicly as male for a year, was reclusive and homeschooled, and refused to undergo any reversible or semi-reversible steps of transitioning. Holy fuck. I haven't read this yet, chat. I'm reading this along with you right now. She didn't do anything. Even the reversible stuff. This is awful. This is awful. What the fuck? How is this man not sent to fucking prison? They didn't even check the patient. They did nothing. They did nothing for this girl. If he had obtained the information and learned that there was a failure to tolerate these invasive methods, then the doctor would have had to decline to perform the surgery. And he points out obtaining consent, informed consent to gender-affirming surgery on an adolescent is a multidisciplinary process and a collective effort involving both the plastic surgeon and psychologist or other mental health professionals involved in the care. The minor must assent to the procedure, and the parents must execute a consent. However, the duty to impart the risk, benefits, and alternatives is shared by both the surgeon and psychologist. Remember, the patient and their parents have to give informed consent. And they say the surgeon is obligated to explain all medical risk, benefits, and alternatives, including the option to delay or forego surgery. Even when I tore my patella tendon, guys, my doctor, the ortho guy who worked on me, he said, you could also just decline to do it and you'd have to wear a stabilizing brace like with the metal sides on it and everything and tightly binding on your knee for the rest of your life because it would never just grow back. It would never tighten up the slack in my tendon. Anyways, chat, hold on. I gotta close the door. She's not stopping. Hold on. We're back. He's also obligated to impress upon the patient the permanency and risk of potential future regret if the gender dysphoria does not continue in adulthood, which can and did happen here, which happens a lot. It happens a lot of times. It happens a lot of times. Like Sitch and Adam know those stats front to back. A lot of people do that. So just think about it. Just think about it. The psychologist is also required to inform the patient on the risk, benefits, and alternatives, and the fact that may not continue. Dr. Chin informs he talked about the risk of like surgery, which are all the normal things. This is all the normal stuff in a surgery. Blah, 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 blah. Yep. And also up here, scarring, bleeding, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that happens. Okay. But what about the rest of it? Further surgery, including wound separation, prolonged healing, yada, 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 yada. Activity restrictions, all the things that may happen. All those things like the physical issues. But there was no talk about the psychological and the mental. The psychological aspects of the surgery. And they didn't include the doctor in the consent discussion. And it says, while the doctor testified he discussed the permanency, Dr. Chin is not a psychologist or mental health professional. And he lacks the adequate training to perform this. It says consent also requires a two-way conversation with the patient regarding their expectations, which doesn't seem to have occurred here. Yes, what do you think? Hi, Fox. What do you think this is going to do for you? What were you like? What are you seeking here? What do you want? Notice that never happened. It doesn't sound like that ever happened. It doesn't sound like that ever happened. Sounds like that never happened, chat. I mean, just fucking ridiculous. Yes. Dr. Einhorn is just the Matrix laughing at us. Yes. I agree, John Doe. Yes, that's what is God. God laughs while we plan. And God likes a sense of irony too. JDK says, will Dr. Chin face any consequences? I don't know. His practice will take a hit. Well, yeah, because he's got a malpractice verdict against him. His malpractice provider, his insurance carrier, may deny the claim and make him pay it on his own. Certainly his rates will go up. He's going to have a lot of problems there. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Like this, so I don't know what's going to happen there. I don't know what's going to happen with that. So it's just not clear. But these guys should be punished. These guys should be punished, and they won't. They won't be. They won't be punished. Mhm. So, oh, alright, hold on, chat, sorry. Trying I got so many each one of these pages is an image, so I have, like, a million images here. But think about like, it's just ridiculous. Ridiculous, it is. They said if he had adequate conversation with Einhorn, he likely would have learned that Deacon was only consenting to the surgery for fear her daughter would commit suicide. That's not a reason to go do this. Think about how insane that answer is. It's also clear that Chin departed from the standard of double mastectomies. He failed to remove adequate skin and breast tissue, therefore making a revision unavoidable. He failed to remove the adequate tissue on left, the left lower breast on the right side, excess tissue in the right supraareolar area. Does that mean with the areola or around the areola? I don't know. And excess tissue in the left inferior breast. Um, like, okay. He removed the appropriate amount of skin and breast tissue during the initial surgery. The revision could have been avoided. And he says, I disagree with their expert's opinion that Dr. Chin did not depart from the standard of care. Supra is under, okay. Yeah, the Toyota Supra areolar. That's funny. That is so funny. That is so funny. Sweet Tooth says above the areolar. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Oh, so, yeah, so he didn't do an informed job and he didn't do a shitty consent. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You have to trust this doctor to do the right thing. You have to trust the doctor to do the right thing. So it's interesting in that regard. Who's message? So let's keep going here. All right, let's go. Let's go. It said Chin should appropriately carried out his role. Dr. Chin never should have. What should he never have done? What should he never have done, guys? What are oh, here we are. God, there's so many tabs. Look at Kirsha feels. He never should have performed the top surgery. Never should have done this. It's just so sad. You know, and once again, he's just reinforcing he didn't call the doctors to discuss the mental health. He didn't ensure that the less invasive treatments had been done. He also performed his own assessment of the mental health and made an assumption she had gender dysphoria when he's not trained for it. Yeah. Think about that. You go to your plastic surgeon and he just kind of like makes it up as he goes and decides you have a mental health problem. That is fucking ridiculous. Absolutely fucking ridiculous. Um, and here's the thing, you guys are making fun of the mom. I don't blame the mom. The mom doesn't know what to do, so she came to the doctors for help. And the doctors say all this shit like, Okay, I guess we'll do it." At some point, you're trying to trust the doctors. So, Let's see here. YouTube just sent you your comments. Well, it'll do that. It'll do that. So, but it's just I don't necessarily blame the mom here. The mom went to the doctors. So, yeah. I mean, no, it's so, loser's a real name? Yes. He says, "I disagree with the statement that their, allegation that top surgery was contraindicated. It should not have been performed because the plaintiff didn't have." He says that their doctor's saying it's not true. Their expert makes a statement on reliance of the letter, but they point out the support is inadequate. Once again, it talks about everything going on. Her mental health issues, that, the treatment beforehand. She doesn't go to school. She's a recluse. It's all ridiculous. It's all ridiculous. So, they say if Chin contacted Einhorn and discussed the case as required, he would have learned she's not a candidate. And once again, it talks about she hadn't been doing it openly for a year. She hadn't have gone through all the proper diagnoses and steps. Biomod Penn State says Jones Act then, Jones Act now, Jones Act forever. The Jones Act is an abomination on American commerce. I'll just say as a side note, chat. I guess Bad Bunny at the opening of his thing talked about the Jones Act, which is pretty based. Um, we'll talk about that one night maybe. And they point out that he's a plastic surgeon, not a fucking psychiatrist. He can't talk about psychiatric issues. Just think about that. Just think about that. And they say, I disagree that the letter clearly documents the gender dysmorphia. Um, he says, I disagree with the opinion that it was somehow appropriate for Einhorn to list the incorrect diagnoses to satisfy billing requirements. Chat. There we go. Billing requirements for insurance. We got to get paid. It's all about getting paid. It's all about getting paid. It's all about getting paid. Just look at this. This is serious. They did this to fuck around to make money. And they're like, "Oh, he knew." But notice, the doctor did it. Notice the defense's expert said, "Well, he did this to get around the medical parts." But notice the psychiatrist never went up to the doctor and said, "By the way, bro, here's what I actually mean." No! They just fucking did it with the wrong things. That's how insane these people are. Just holy shit, chat. Hol holy shit. Holy shit. So, it's just yeah, we'll talk about the Jones Act. I understand. I know you were making the segregation now thing. Benjamin, is Corey Richards started, or is it just there's pre-trial stuff? We'll get into Corey Richards. Yeah. So, um, yeah. So, um, they picked a jury today. Okay. Corey Richards doesn't start till the 23rd. Good. We'll get into that shit. We'll get into that. And that's good 'cause I have an appeal I'm working on that's due by the 23rd. So I got to get to my shit here next week. So we'll work on that. We'll work on that. Thank you. But thank you, Benjamin, for your $10. Uh, so yeah, they point out that the defendant's expert improperly speculates had they called, Dr. Rhino would have told him the diagnosis was gender dysmorphia. More importantly, though, really quick chat, I was Googling something. This is fucking insurance fraud. That's insurance fraud. I mean, we can call it that. We can call it that. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll look at the Faust trial as well. There's a bunch of stuff, guys. So they point out first we know there was no conversations, which is a departure. So this is all speculation, yeah. And additionally, the notes indicate that he suspected some of the issues were related to her autism, not struggles with identity. So he says, I disagree. He also says it wasn't appropriate to defer to the doctors. He says, um, there was no diagnosis of gender dysmorphia, nothing to defer to from Dr. Reinhardt. And they say, despite his status as a plastic surgeon, which was a departure from the standard of care. Once again, he made up his own damn diagnosis. So it just this goes on and on and on here about standards of care, guys. This is insane. So my audio sounds buggered. Oh, hold on here. Hold on here. Are you guys talking about the cath procedure? Oh, you're talking about okay. That's what I think. They point out that the defense expert said it's appropriate for Dr. Chin to defer the expertise and medical judgment. Well, there's a problem because he contradicts his own expert. He says he performed an assessment and decided she had gender dysmorphia. So she didn't stick with it. She didn't stick with it. So how does that work? How does that work? How does that work, Chad? It doesn't work. It doesn't fucking work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So they say, thus the statement is factually incorrect, which is true because it's literally you're saying, what is he should have deferred, but then he didn't defer. So your own experts admitting you kind of maybe they say Dr. Reiner never diagnosed gender dysmorphia and there is nothing to defer to. He says, I disagree the doctor went above and beyond. There was no diagnosis and nothing to corroborate. It's above and beyond this doctor. Diardo's wobbling like it's going through an inline mic. Huh? Hold on. What's going on? Do you guys need me to fix something? Can you guys hear me better? Hold on. Can you guys hear me? Hold on. Yeah, no, I think it's your mic's all fucky wucky. Ah, hold on. Is this better? Is this better? It's, he's got dick in his mouth. Whoa. Is it better? Is 2.0 back yet? No. It's kind of loud. Okay, I'll turn it down. Much better. Is it good or bad? I didn't change the sound at all. It sounds so far away. Leave me to myself to fall away. Let's see here. Is this better? Hello. I don't know. Don't you guys start telling me to do shit, and now it's all fucked. Like, I don't know. I don't know what to do, chat. We're just gonna run it like this. You're gonna have to suffer if there's a little bit of badness. And have to. We're just running it. We're running it. And they say Chin is not a trained mental health professional. He can't confirm gender dysmorphia. Um, Per the treatment of psychologists in this case, such diagnosis requires treatment with a mental health professional over an extensive period of time. You can't make it in 2 surgical visits. and that's it. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time. And they say, in fact, it is improper for the expert or plastic surgeon to confirm this diagnosis at all, as it's outside his own area of expertise. So not only are they doing this, but they're saying your own expert was not allowed to make this assessment. And that's true. It's not, it's outside your own medical license, bro. Yeah. So why does Chin practice next door to the shit block? And it says, additionally, adding a second preoperative visit was not a viable substitute for contacting and discussing the case with the psychologist. Lubo says, H, thank you. He says, I disagree with the expert. He's qualified to make a diagnosis of dysmorphia because he performs 2 top surgeries a month. Okay, great. You're not the psychiatrist. You're not the psychiatrist. So, hold on here, chat. So, you came for the chat and the Tylenol rant. Yes. Top surgery says, make my car a convertible. Yeah. Okay, yes, in Australia, is it top or bottom surgery? Hmm, that's a good question. Good question. Katie says your Discord's out of control. They tagged me and asked me if I insert tampons using a Nerf gun. I mean, that seems a little awkward, but if you do, I guess that seems a little excessive. But it says nowhere in this guy's credentials are any of them medical health professionals. They say the experts completely ignore the other mental health issues in health conditions. It also ignores the age of the patient, the non-surgical event interventions that weren't used. And it says for the same reasons I disagree that they established she had gender dysmorphia. You know, yeah, it's not. It doesn't do that. Um, it's not enough. It's not enough here, chat. It says even if she had dysmorphia, the surgery is not indicated for many reasons. It should have been turned down. Remember, she had not gotten the reversible interventions. She had not lived fully and openly, and had other mental health issues. This shouldn't have happened. This shouldn't have happened. And it's fucking sad that's happened. And it says per the standards of care, you should explore non-surgical interventions. One of these partially reversible interventions is hormone therapy. And the fact she didn't want to do this should given him pause to reject her, but he didn't. And it says if she's not open to care, then it raises questions about whether she's sufficiently decided on transitioning permanently. So, and this is here is a discussion about the actual removal of tissue. I'm not a medical expert, so I'll leave that here. I know Dr. Nick and Sweet Tooth, you guys are actual medical doctors with medical training. But this is about removing all the breast tissue, and I'm like, it sounds like he didn't do a good job. Um, but he says, yeah, they did not obtain adequate informed consent from the mother prior to surgery. They must explain the physical risk, and the mental health provider explains the psychological risk. And they failed to include the psychologist, and they never spoke to him. They never spoke to him. And it says Dr. Chin is not a psychologist or mental health professional. And consent requires a two-way conversation, which does not seem to have occurred here. Chin also failed to appreciate the mother was only consenting because she feared her daughter would commit suicide. Bob says, "Who pays for this? Insurance companies do. Insurance companies do. Therefore, it's my opinion he did not obtain properly informed consent and admitted all risk of the psychological harm for the procedure. It failed to incorporate the mental health providers." And then learning that, she's suicidal, that's another reason he should have stopped. Think about all these red flags. All these red flags. I'm gonna kill myself. Well, then you can't do that. You can't do this. Like, maybe I shouldn't give you the surgery. It sounds like you need a doctor. That's how this has to work here. And it says predictably, dysphoria didn't continue. Although noticeably, it wasn't even gender dysphoria, it was body dysmorphia, really. But anyway, even if it was, it didn't continue. And she sustained inappropriate and unjustified alteration of her body. So just think about how fucked up. Once again, they butchered a child, chat. The child got butchered. I mean, think about that. Think about that. Then this is from her psychiatrist expert. And she says, I'm a psychiatrist licensed to practice in California and Minnesota. She's like, I'm a psychiatrist. I work in Minnesota. And you're like, I've also worked for the VA. I've worked for different, like, look at this. This is a well-rounded notice, Dr. Chin. What is her? She's treated veterans. She's treated like old people. That's gerontology. The LA County Medical Center. So she treated poor people and homeless people. Child development clinics, children's health centers. And she's a professor of psychology, like an actual doctor who knows this stuff. She said, many of my patients are contemplating gender affirming surgery and they seek letters of support from me. Um, and she says, I have written numerous letters of support. I'm familiar with the standard of care and requirements. And she says, I'm also aware of the psychologist's role in ensuring the patient is fully informed of the outcomes and that it may not remedy misgendering by others and that they may regret the permanent alterations. And she says the assessments that you have to have with an adolescent patient and their legal guardians prior to surgery is essential. So, so from here, and they say this is a medical malpractice action. She goes through this, and she says, um, remember the psychiatrist is suing. He's defending himself, and and here, and it says they want to dismiss for lack of informed consent. And they point out here that it's my opinion that both defendants were responsible for obtaining assent from the minor patient and informed consent from her guardian, her parents. Is Ag here? Oh, hi, Ag. And it says each defendant's responsible for explaining the risk within their area of practice. And they say that surgery treats a psychological condition as opposed to a physical ailment. The psychologist was an essential member of the care team and was required to obtain informed consent. So, you know, and they point out gender reassignment is intended to treat psychological diagnoses of gender dysphoria. So, the treating psychologist, which is Dr. Einhorn, plays a significant role. Notice she's telling you what your job is as a psychologist. Both the psychologist and surgeon are responsible for obtaining consent for different risks. And she says, "It's my opinion Dr. Hearn failed to adequately obtain that." And she goes through the facts here. Once again, we don't need the facts because the facts have already happened. We've been through the facts. And she says, "It's my opinion that they were improperly diagnosing her. There's too much irreversible harm here." And she never did what Einhorn was Finkel. It's the obligation to impart psychological risk, and that never happened. That there could be remorse, that their feelings change. And it's important to understand that, there's a difference between body dysmorphia and gender dysmorphia. Dysmorphia is the mental health condition, which we can all suffer from. Treatment of this condition is psychotherapy, not surgery. Yes, well, so, they say on the other hand, gender dysphoria is a psychological distress, and gender doesn't comport with the sex they were assigned at birth, which is a big deal. Ag is at work trying to get pregnant. Oh, well, there you go. The treatment plans are highly individualized. They are and depend on the patient. Treatment helps one patient with gender dysphoria can look very different from the treatment plan helps another. And the treatments fall into 3 categories: fully reversible, which are very few things; partially reversible, which that's really not the case. If they're partially reversible, that means they're irreversible, really. Like, this doesn't exist. I think that's actually bullshit because puberty blockers are not reversible. You cannot do that. You can't undo the body's things. So it's just 2, fully reversible and irreversible. Uh, that's really where they are. It's almost like they can't treat the problem. Yeah, I know. It's weird, isn't it? It's funny and weird they can't treat the problem. And it says fully reversible treatment can include the analogs to suppress estrogen or testosterone production. That's not fully reversible. You can't reverse puberty. If you have puberty too late, it is a health problem. That's why if a child doesn't have puberty because of a metabolic disorder, we have to give them hormones to treat that. Or if they have it too early, it's dangerous. This part here is bullshit. So, this part here is bullshit, sadly. This part here is bullshit. And it says, "Irreversible interventions are surgical in nature." No, all these are irreversible pretty much. So, who's messaging me? Hold on here. So so no, it's not. I'm talking to somebody there. I got a text message I had to answer. So they say, in my opinion, that he incorrectly diagnosed her with body dysmorphia when the symptoms were suggestive of gender dysmorphia or dysphoria, which manifested her desire. Still, she should not have been referred. And this is interesting. This is interesting, chat. This doctor, this doctor says actually she did have gender dysphoria, but she still shouldn't have gotten it. Which you're like, huh. Once again, this woman is in the profession of butchering children, but it's not for Ron Cole. Stop. Um, huh, hmm, so, um, it says all Dr. Einhorn should have explained to the patient and mother is the standard of care for body dysmorphia does not include surgery. Rather, the treatment is psychotherapy. Lay down on the couch and tell me what you think. Dr. Einhorn should have also known and explained that gender reassignment surgery would not remedy body dysmorphia and was not a viable treatment option at all for this patient. But remember, he's trying to claim, well, I was committing insurance fraud to get it around that. The problem is, this is your official document, so we have what we have here, doctor. But yes, these guys should be criminally charged. Sadly, they won't. Um, yes, we have a very nice shower chat. Thank you for wondering. Thank you for wondering. Um, he claims he utilized the diagnosis for billing purposes, but this is semantics as there's no mention of gender dysphoria in any of his treatment records. And once again, this is fraud. That's fraud. It's insurance fraud. You're lying to get things done. That's insurance fraud. It's for false pretenses. So, and even if these diagnoses are interchangeable, they are not. Einhorn made the proper diagnosis of gender dysphoria, and Einhorn had made the proper diagnosis. They had an obligation to inform the standard of care in an adolescent required commencement of reversible interventions before surgery becomes viable. There's no reference to any discussion about this. So, so um, they point out Einhorn should have informed the patient of the alternatives, especially given her autism diagnosis at a young age. It's his responsibility, and they say the treatment records do not reflect these conversations, and he neglected to obtain informed consent. It's fucking awful. No, we don't have a touch screen for shower text in the shower. Mom also testified she did this because her daughter said she was gonna threaten suicide. So he essentially gave the mom 2 choices, death or surgery. And this is, I think, important. This is unacceptable and a departure from the standard of care. And it's interesting because the doctor testified he never believed she was a suicide risk. This is a big fucking deal. None of his treatment records indicate she was suicidal. Just like Jussie Smollett, she's not suicidal. And they were made to inappropriate persuade her to consent to surgery. And they were unethical and indefensible under the circumstances. Yeah. This guy shouldn't have a fucking license. He coerced the mom to execute consent forms for fear she'd lose her daughter. Suicide if she withheld consent. And clearly inserted himself into the consent process. It's awful. It's awful. So, it's just awful. It's just I disagree with the opinions, that listen to the doctors, attorneys, that he had no responsibility to obtain informed consent because he didn't perform it. Fucking insane. Insane. Gender reassignment surgery is a team effort between the surgeon and the mental health professional. Notice, what do the professionals tell you? One cannot serve as a substitute or defer to the other. No, they have to work together. Yeah, it's poor kid, 16-year-old. 16 years old. 16 years old. 16 years old. So 16 years old, chat. So based on my review of the testimony, Einhorn failed to provide the alternatives, failed to inform them of the, not working, failed to inform them of the likelihood it may not continue, failed to inform them of the likelihood of regret, all of which should have been disclosed. He was responsible for obtaining informed consent, but he failed. He deviated from the standard of care numerous times. This is weird because this one, the way it got filed, the document is yeah, I mean, just think about this, guys. They didn't fucking do anything to help this girl. Absolutely sad. Absolutely sad. Absolutely. Just fucking I think you could argue this is criminal. I think you could argue this is criminal at this point. I don't know what else you could say here. I don't know what else you could say to this. Maddie's saying it's better. Okay, good. So, um, yeah, it is potentially criminal. It is. I would argue this is potentially criminal conduct. This is it's so fucking disgusting. But yes, it is potentially criminal. These guys, like, there should be criminal charges here, and sadly there aren't. Yes, yes, like these doctors have committed like actual like assault on this woman. Yes, or potentially to intentionally. Yes, actual criminals. And guys, we're gonna get to now here the big thing. The court making its decision back in April. And obviously they got to a verdict here, but we'll get to this. So Captain Dog 87, it says, I love these streams. Keep it up. Thank you for $2. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Anonymous for $5 says, thank you for giving us the IRL lawyer tech issues in court ASMR. Uh, Ag biochemist, been a member for 34 months. Says, I'm hungry. I could go for a tube. Well, thank you for being 34 months. Many moons ago. Bob 2 says, I'm recording this using AI. Don't tell Rob. Jesus. Justice Smith, it's been a member for 28 months, says, Doctor chops a dick. Yes. Well, except they're chopping off boobies, but yes. I would assume a urologist would have to do, like, the dick chopping. Sweet Tooth Fairy's been a member for 34 months. Thank you, Sweet Tooth. Says Lisa's out. And Brewberries, who's been a member for 24 months. Um, Thank you, Brewberries. Saying in Australia, it's 16 for top surgery, but 18 for implants. That's weird, but hey, makes sense, I guess. Whatever, you know. So, um, Crozan Eagle Vault says, "Oh man, I miss Splinter Cell." I agree. The old Splinter Cells, it kind of went into the tank after Chaos Theory. Um, once you had like Double Agent and Blacklist and all the garbage, it was bad. I understand Michael Ironside didn't want to keep doing it, but like they could have just done more. Uh, and Boosh is correct. How you doing, Boosh? Yes, people were deplatformed during Bubba Biden. Fuck. Yes, leave them kids alone. I agree. I agree. We were told this never happens, but now that's happening, it's a good thing. Yes, they were to do no harm, and all they did was create harm here. So, if you go to the medical board website, you can find. Well, I don't think they've been disciplined yet because the verdict just happened. So I'm assuming it hasn't happened yet. So, so, so. Anyways, this was the motion dismissed. The court made a ruling. And we're gonna blow through parts of this because it's kinda long here. It's kinda long, but it's important to get to. It's kind of important to get to this here. So, okay. So, um, what happened? Well, the defense filed for summary judgment, okay? Obviously, the plaintiff opposes. So the court looked at what were they gonna take a look at here? The Chin motion, the notice of motions, at exhibits A through M, affidavits, statement of material facts, the expert in opposition, all kinds all kinds of stuff here. Even more stuff was submitted. Even more stuff had been submitted. And he says that, as this goes here, it's kind of funny because as a preliminary matter, the court observes that all the attorney affirmations submitted on these motions are not properly sworn because they fail to comply with the required form language. So the attorneys, all the attorney motions and affirmations, like we saw in the Sterling John case, the attorneys in this on both sides completely fucked it up. So the affirmations have only been considered to the extent they attach documentary evidence and deposition testimony. So they go forward here. But once again, this is the relevant and procedural background. We don't really need to worry about this here because once again, it's the basic ideas of what's going on with the care and the treatments. This talks about the basics of the case here. And they talk about all the different things that they didn't do, and they talk about, basically there were two parts. There was you know, the actual taking care of the surgery because they failed to take care of they removed enough breast tissue and skin. They didn't do all. Then they also talk about they didn't obtain informed consent. So they go through. We're not going to go through all that. Then. The audio is weird again, chat. I don't. I can't help you guys if the audio is fucking up, guys. I don't know why it's doing it. You're gonna have to just. We're gonna have to saddle up here. So, and once again, they talk about the standard for summary judgment. Once again, the summary judgment is you must make a prima facie showing of entitlement to judgment as a matter of law. And hold on, chat. I got this. Hi, sweetheart. I'm live. Can I call you back later? Okay. Thank you. Love you. Bye. Mwah. That was 2.0 chat. Now they point out that it's summary judgment standards. They point out that once again you have to make you resolve all facts in favor of the plaintiff, and can you figure out what's going to happen here? Is it still gonna work? Now, this is unique because it is a medical malpractice suit. So, medical malpractice and fraud requires special pleading standards. So, you have to as a defendant, you must make a prima facie showing that either you did not depart from the accepted standard of care or that any departure was not the proximate cause of the plaintiff's injuries. So, that's the thing. You can deviate from the standard of care, but if that's not why there's an injury to the patient, not that it doesn't matter. Um, and it says once the defendant meets his burden, the plaintiff must demonstrate the existence of a triable issue of fact as to the elements. And it says to establish proximate cause, a plaintiff needs to do no more than offer sufficient evidence from which a person can conclude it was more probable than not the injury was caused by the defendants, which in this case it's very clear. They are the proximate cause for her injuries. They did the thing, and they didn't do necessarily all of the things they had to do. They say summary judgment is not appropriate in a med mal suit when the parties adduce conflicting medical expert opinions. Yeah, yeah. So they point out here the Chin motion, and this is the motion from their expert affidavit. Who went through all of this, and they talk about what he did. They say in opposition, the plaintiff submitted their own from their own things, their own plastic surgeon and their own psychiatrist. Remember, um, and also the World Professional Association for Transgender Health, WPATH. These people are fucking insane. These are a major part of the kind of the true and industrial complex, more or less. This is the butchers union. And they also go on to depositions. Depositions, though, Fox said she changed her name to Fox Grayson Varian from her birth name, Isabel Grace Bastille, shortly after she turned 18 years old in 2021, and presently identifies as a female. At 14, she was diagnosed with autism. Getting diagnosed with autism at 14 is really late. That's all very concerning to me. How did that happen? How that didn't happen. So 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 and they point out that at age 14, she began treatment. Let's say in 2018, she began using the name Gabriel, partially because it's more masculine. And in January 2019, she changed her pronouns to they, he, which is weird. It's not he, they, but whatever. She discussed the name change with Einhorn, and then she began using a binder, which she wore until shortly before the top surgery. She also cut her hair very short and started dressing more masculine. Thereafter, she discussed having surgery with Einhorn as she did not want breasts. Those feelings continued to the point she felt suicidal if she did not have the surgery. And she made similar statements to her mother. Initially, her mother wanted her to wait for the surgery, but she eventually agreed to it. Yeah, which is happens. Yeah, she was in a tomboy phase. In a tomboy phase. So they point out that she requested a surgeon recommendation from Einhorn in late 2019. She recommended and provided a letter to the surgery. Thereafter, she conducted her own research on Chin. She made an appointment. She saw him 2 or 3 times with her mother to discuss surgery. She recommended the lollipop method versus the double incision. She did not like lollipop method due to the potential scars, which I think is like what happened to Ellen Page. Remaining after the surgery, and she didn't want a revision, which they have to revise the surgery scars. They say Chin also told her it was a risk the nipple could die, be necrotic, and fall off. Oof, that would suck. Your nipples fall off. Temporary drains would be inserted and tight bandages would be applied. The ambulatory surgery, meaning it's outpatient, you have it, you're done. The mother signed consent forms as she was a minor. So, so yeah. So the nips could be freed. Yes, they could. Um, you know, so they talked about in 2021, she underwent the revisions. Um, as the deep tissue wasn't even, the right side was concave and had loose skin. It was painful and numb. Ew. She did not have any complaints after the revision. She continued identifying as they them in 2020. In summer of 2022, she stopped identifying as they them and referred to herself as she her. She regretted the surgery. Absolutely sad and disgusting. During the deposition, Einhorn testified he has been a licensed psychologist since 2003. He has a PhD in clinical psychology. It says he did not have any training in the health of transsexual, transgender, or gender nonconforming persons. Hold on, chat. Sorry, chat. I had some. I was 2.0 was like, your sound sucks. And what's distracting you? I'm like, I had a bunch of emails that were going back and forth with another attorney. Sorry. It's like something that has to get done for tomorrow. So yeah, sorry about that. We're fixed now. They say, however, he indicated he has a connection with the gay center in New York City. They really call it that, and they've spoken to them about transgender issues, such as proper pronouns. Oh, he's done, like, the bare minimum of, like, how do you people call each other? Oh, also, this was the 3rd gender patient he was treating. He said he may have treated more than 10, but less than 20 other patients. One of these prior patients underwent top surgery. He encouraged her to go to the gay center to discuss transgender issues. And says she went to a similar program in Albany twice. He was aware of the plaintiff, and her mother went to a second similar program. He is familiar with the WPATH standards for health transgenders and was familiar with them in 2018, but does not regard them as authoritative. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Do you guys want me to restart StreamYard? All right, I'll restart StreamYard. If this doesn't fix it, you guys are gonna have to suffer. Give me 1 second. All right, Chad, I'm back. I don't know if this is gonna work or not. You guys, like, survive. We're gonna have to survive here. So, let me know if it's better. Sweet Tooth says, "Where the fuck is the father?" I'm sure this is a fatherless I'm sure this was a single mom. So, Prior to treatment, Einhorn indicated the plaintiff had been diagnosed with anxiety, depression, and on the spectrum. However, he stated she did not consistently present as someone on the spectrum. But if she's autistic, wow. Wow, 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 wow. 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 Wow, chat. Makes you wonder. Makes you wonder. Testing also showed that she was of low also testing showed she was of low intellectual and low executive functioning. Wow. Fucking A. They're literally preying upon people who are stupid. Yeah, and it does make me wonder. It does make me wonder. Um, so it says before, he believed that the testing underestimated the talent. Notice the doctor's like, "Yeah, I rely on this testing, but I don't think it's right." Oh my god, yeah, how many other people has this happened to? Well, Slayer, I mean, we talked about this with Benjamin, Ryan's lawsuit tracker. These are just 30 of the lawsuits that are going right now that are kind of important. Think about how many more kids not. Think about how many more kids don't exist in this situation. They say like 10% of kids who have had these stuff done to them. Think about how many tens of thousands of kids that is. Lots and lots and lots. So, lots and lots and lots. They say before the top surgery, he indicated she expressed on numerous occasions she wanted to kill herself, but she never had a plan. His notes do not indicate she was suicidal, and he did not consider her to be suicidal. He denied ever telling her that she was at a risk. He denied ever telling mom that she was at a risk for suicide. Why would the mom lie about this? Why would the mom lie? And then during treatment, there were no issues regarding her gender. She was treated for depression and anxiety and difficulties with school and her parents. It sounds like every 16-year-old out there. Anxiety, depression, and problems with your parents, especially if they're divorced or they were never married and they're in separate homes. This is just fucking awful. This is what they did. This is what they did. Hmm. So, oh, oh. They say began sharing what she wanted to be called in 2018. At that point, gender and identity became a big part of her conversations. Um, but it's, you know, he understood gender dysphoria to refer to marked inconsistencies. And it said the plaintiff was very frustrated about looking in the mirror and seeing her breast. And he started thinking of the plaintiff as gender dysphoric in 2019, but did not formally use the diagnosis in any paperwork. Notice he's just covering his ass. Just covering his ass. This is just so. Hold on. There we go. But this is just there we go. That's not working there. Sorry, it moves around. Oh, you guys are talking about Kurt Cobain there? Yeah. So They talk about that they began to discuss surgery and the difficulty wearing the binder. In 2019, he met with plaintiff and they discussed top surgery. As of this date, it was his opinion that she was experiencing gender dysphoria. But notice that was never in the documents. In April 2019, it's noted the mother was not in support of top surgery. Einhorn stated he discussed with plaintiff and Deacon that the surgery is permanent and indicated that the plaintiff had done a lot of research on it. A 16-year-old really can't do research. Plaintiff was very logical about the surgery and very involved. Notice it doesn't work because she doesn't know what the fuck she's doing because she's low functioning. And in the notes and the date, he wrote that the plaintiff's judgment was mildly impaired. Think about this. Think about this. This is insane. This is insane. He did not refer to her to somebody with more experience in treating these individuals because the plaintiff had developing trust with others. And it says the plaintiff was expressing a desire to get top surgery as soon as possible. By the time they met with surgeon, it's his understanding the mother agreed to plaintiff getting surgery. When he gave the name, he assumed she would get transgender medical support from that office, as Einhorn was not a member of a transgender team. He didn't even bother to follow up. Oh, fuck it. It's not my problem. Chin had performed top surgery for some other patients. He never discussed this with Chin. Plaintiff discussed your visit with Chin and indicated they were waiting for insurance to approve the surgery. He denied ever recommending top surgery. He did not believe the surgery was indicated. Um, and it says he did not recall if he told either plaintiff or Deacon the surgery was not indicated. It's amazing. It's like if you have notes, people would fucking notice that. Oh, Bonbon's coming tomorrow between 6 or 7. Chat. I just got a text. I got a Bonbon text. However, he did write a letter in support, and that's funny. Like, he wrote this letter of support even though he's like, "Well, I don't know if this would have been good or not." It's like, "Homie, you wrote the letter of support." Like, how can you do this to this girl? This poor girl got fucking butchered. It's fucking horrible what happened here. It's absolutely like, oh, and they talk about the surgeries the plaintiff wanting it badly. He says dysmorphia, he wrote it as dysmorphia. He wrote as dysmorphia as that the insurance diagnosis, but they were really talking about dysphoria. But notice he didn't talk about anything. Um, so it's just stupid. Like, these people are awful at what they did here. They point out the insurance thing. In the letter, he didn't include his opinion the surgery is not indicated or that he had reservations. He didn't. Um, he said he discussed hormone therapy, but she didn't want to try it. And he didn't know what GnRH analogs are, but did hear of insertions to suppress estrogen. So notice he doesn't even know what the alternative theories are. It's like, what the hell? It's like, what the hell? I don't it what it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous, chat. Why do we have to why do I have to know about all these things? Why do I have to show proof options? Fucking ridiculous. Fucking ridiculous. Redonkulastic. Hi, Wonder Bread. I still don't know why it's Wonder Bread, but oh, Yeah, and it says, "He was aware that some adolescent patients regret, having top surgery, but he did not discuss the possibility the plaintiff might regret having the surgery." I mean, it happens, but I don't think it's gonna happen here. I mean, just reading this is, like, ridiculous. In his opinion, she was competent to consent. Based on what? I mean, just read this. This is infuriating, and it's despairing and infuriating all at the same time. No regrets. Yes. Like, basically he's like, "No refunds." It's just absolutely horrible what they did to this girl. During the deposition for Dr. Chin, he testified that he performs transmasculine top or breast removal surgeries, and it requires the patient to have a gender dysphoria diagnosis. And it says here, notice even though the letter says it, he felt that she was transgender and felt much more comfortable being identified as a male. And it says during his first meetings, the plaintiff told Chin, she started thinking about transitioning 3 or 4 years and had the support of his parents, which is not true. Um, Chin also discussed in the surgical options and explained the risk and benefits, what Chin claims. Um, and Chin believed that the plaintiff was gender dysphoric. He also believed that Einhorn thought the plaintiff had gender dysphoria. How without knowing? They talk about the second preoperative visit. And they talked once again about the risk and benefits to the surgery. And they, wanted time after having time to reassess the information provided. Remember, it's like a month later. Chin testified consent forms were signed on the date of the surgery, but were misdated. Okay, well, that's convenient. He would not have been allowed in the operating room if the consent forms had not been signed. Well, um, on the date of the surgery, before the surgery, he sat down and discussed the benefits with them. So right there, right before you jump out of the airplane, we're doing that. Wow. Like right before you start skydiving, hey, you realize you might die. What? Bye. Woo! Out the plane. Oh. Um, when you get a haircut tomorrow, don't let them clip your wings. No, my haircut's Friday morning. Thank you. My hair gets done Friday. Thank you, ADW. So they said, he says like, "Oh, everything was going fine." Notice though she brought up she had questions because there was the widening of the scar and the redness in the area. They talked about ways to improve the scarring. In February, she returned due to a suture abscess that was treated. Now you might say, is a suture abscess necessarily malpractice? No. When it comes to malpractice, guys, infections are like the hardest thing to prove because everything can be done right, which leads to an infection. So, during the June 30th visit, plaintiff reported being happy, but had a little bit of excess tissue on her lower left breast. And on the right side, the nipple was a little lower in position. I mean, it sounds like this guy fucking hacked her apart. It sounds like Tara Reid. During the last visit, the plaintiff was concerned about the right superareola area where the skin had not tightened completely. During the deposition for mom testified she's her mother and is a licensed practical nurse. Well, okay, make your jokes about it, but she has some basic understanding of medical stuff. Her daughter had learning disabilities and social emotional issues, which impacted her education, which it's really sad that she did it anyway. There were gender issues. If she recalled her daughter telling her therapist that she might be gender fluid. She was made aware that her daughter was experiencing an eating disorder. How many more boxes can how many like, Fox checked all the boxes. Mental health out the wazoo. They didn't care for her, and it's sad. She became first aware of the dissatisfaction of the gender when she's 15. Every 15-year-old girl goes through that. Um, when she was 12 or 13, plaintiff told her mom she was gay. Yeah, that totally has not been groomed at all into her. Plaintiff started to develop breasts at 11 or 12. Okay. And she had a strong reaction to going through puberty. Yeah, as an 11 or 12-year-old, I could see that being a problem. That could be early enough. When the plaintiff was treating Einhorn, Deacon began to hear that plaintiff was non-binary and wanted to bind her breast and dress like a boy. Wow. Yeah, she was 5'7", 120 pounds. She was already skinny. She was very slender. Um, they discussed the gender transitions, who told her approximately 94% of the people who identify as trans do not waver. And that's not fucking true. That is not fucking true. Um, she testified that Einhorn was steadfast and explained to me why it was completely necessary to keep her from committing suicide. Since prior to consenting to surgery, she was concerned that she would commit suicide if she didn't have the surgery. And she said that, Warren started seeing her when she was 14. Prior to starting treatment, there was a series of psychological testing, which was on the opinion she was on the spectrum. But during her first year of treatment, she changed her name to Gabriel and then Rowan, found her breast, and changed her pronouns. At some point in 2018, she cut her hair short and began dressing like a boy. She ordered the binder for her daughter, who wore tight sports bras for 1 year or a little longer before the surgery. She was supportive of her daughter and, too supportive, and purchased the bras because she was saying, "I'm not comfortable in this body." Why didn't you get your daughter into, like, a therapist? Like, it's just oh. So, that she wanted to be a boy and wanted a flat chest. She discussed I mean, just read this. This is hard to read, guys. This is She discussed possible top surgery multiple times. Um, she went with to the first visit with Chin. She recalled signing a consent form. Um, she didn't express reservations about the surgery, and she signed a consent form because the doctors were there. They talked about the expert affidavits. Um, we're getting these experts are here. These experts, they point out that, um, this is the defense expert saying that he didn't deviate from treating for surgical care standards of the plaintiff. And it's like, okay, that's bullshit. We know it's bullshit. So we're gonna keep moving here. We're gonna get to we've already been through some of the expert opinions here. We're not gonna go through all of those. We're gonna skip a few of those. They talk about the surgeon's affidavit. And they point out the surgeon opined it was a departure from this, this is the surgeon's affidavit. He opined that it was a departure from the standard of care to perform the surgery on the plaintiff, when she presented with the wrong diagnosis. Remember, we've already been through this part here. All kinds of horseshit happened. Um, they didn't do this, and then they move on to the psychologist's expert opinion, which we've already covered. The psychologist saying this shouldn't have been done. This is, this should not have happened even if she did qualify. Um, they point out here ultimately, the expert affidavits at this point raise issues of triable fact as to whether they deviated from the standard of care. But notice they go through all this and they just lay it all out. They lay this all out here, guys. I mean, look at all this stuff that happened. Look at all this stuff that happened. Now, because there are issues of triable fact, you're not gonna get summary judgment. Because if there's issues of triable fact, summary judgment is not the proper vehicle. Remember, summary judgment, there are no facts in contention. Who's entitled to a ruling under the law? So, um, they point out that there are conflicting expert opinions. Summary judgment is not appropriate. But notice what we learned through this, like, the insanity. Um, and here's the standards for medical malpractice, and we're gonna get to the jury verdict here in a second. To recover damages for malpractice based on a lack of informed consent, what do you have to show? That the person providing the professional treatment failed to disclose alternatives thereto, and failed to inform of the reasonably foreseeable risk, and the alternatives that a reasonable medical practitioner would have disclosed otherwise. And they say that a reasonably prudent patient in the same position would not have undergone the treatment if he or she had been fully informed. And then the lack of informed consent is a proximate cause, and it is. Without the informed consent, she wouldn't have done this. This is just so fucked up. Um, it says here they met their burden of proof for summary judgment, though. Okay, that's all they're getting to here. And they say that they supported enough basic information, but that's it. They survived. Um, ultimately, um, what happens here is the court, um, as this goes here, the court determines that the defendants did meet their prima facie burden of saying that they got informed consent. Here. And they say it's undisputed that Einhorn could not did not perform the procedure as he is not a physician and therefore did not owe any duty to plan to obtain or informed consent for the surgery. And they're saying, look, we have signed waivers. They say, however, the plaintiffs raised an issue of fact as to whether Einhorn failed to advise the plaintiff of the risk, the benefits, and alternatives to gender reassignment surgery. So they point out that psychologists remain bound by their traditional common law duty to obtain informed consent. And there's a question of fact because this is so unique. It's a procedure to treat a psychological condition. And the issuance of a letter that would be relied upon um, would invite the surgeon to do something. It's the prerequisite performance of the surgery. And it's whether Einhorn was merely a referring psychologist or involved in the diagnosis and treatment. And that wasn't discussed. And they say all other arguments raised in this motion and evidence submitted have been considered. And they say, accordingly, the motion for summary judgment is denied. And this has to go to trial. So the motion for summary judgment is denied. This was set for a trial. This was set for trial, chat. So here we go. What happened? Well, the jury, and this is off Ben Ryan's site. He doesn't have all the documents. Remember, it all got sealed. So there were the jury's responses to questions. This is really important, chat. This goes through what happened here. So the jury said, did Dr. Einhorn depart from the good accepted standards? Um, did Dr. Einhorn depart from good and accepted standards of care? Yes, and the vote was unanimous. Was the departure a substantial factor? Yes, unanimously. No, and he says that, from here on, I'm not spelling out exactly how these were worded for brevity's sake. I wish we could get a hold of the forms. But it says, "Did Einhorn depart from the standard of care by not ensuring that she received transgender support?" Yes, but not unanimous. Was the factor substantial in causing injury? No. So they're saying, was he, getting her for specific things? No, but he should have done things. Did he depart from the standard of care by not obtaining Pride Center records? Or otherwise what had occurred at the Pride Center, which is where the gay center? Yes. He didn't do his homework. Was that substantial factor in causing injury? They say no unanimously. That's that's redonkulistic here. But hey, juries kinda get confused. Juries are getting confused on this. I said, "Did Einhorn depart from the psychological standard of care?" Yes, not unanimous. Was it a factor in causing her injury? Yes, unanimous. This does not make a whole lot of sense here. These 2 these 2 things don't make sense. These 2 things don't make sense, chat. These 2 things don't make sense. These 2 things don't make sense. Um, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but okay. Did Einhorn depart from the psychological standard of care by writing the letter of support? Yes, unanimous. Was that a substantial factor? Yes, unanimous. Did Dr. Einhorn depart from the standard of care by not collaborating? Yes. Was that a factor? Yes. Did did Einhorn depart from the standard of care by not discussing the psychological risk? No. Once again, this is weird they're doing it, 'cause it's unanimous, it's not just one person. I said, "Did Einhorn depart from the standard of care by not notifying Chin that John Basile, Fox's father, who shared medical rights, did not consent to the top surgery?" Whoa! That's one I didn't know, chat. Think about that. Um, you know, that she signed the consent and it violated their custody agreement. Um, but in New York State, the consent of only one parent is needed. No. Wow. Did Simon Chin depart from the good and accepted standards? Yes. Was that a factor in causing injury? Yes. Did Chin depart from the standard of care by performing the surgery? Yes. Was that a factor in causing injury? Yes. Did Chin did Chin before obtaining consent provide appropriate information? Yes, meaning this was in his favor, meaning that they're claiming he provided proper consent. So, yeah. So what did she get? She got $2,000,000, 1.4 for that, and then 600K for, her future. So, yeah. So there we go. Stay says he'll buy new books. And yes, stop insuring doctors that transition kids. I'm sure these guys won't get insured again. I mean, somebody will insure them, but it'll cost them a lot of money. And for them, they're gonna have to say, "Hey, look, we've got judgments against us." Once again, guys, that 30 kids, these 30 kids, 30 kids. These kids who are just think about how many more that are out there we've never heard of and we'll never hear from. It's fucking sad. Like, these kids never had a chance. Never had a chance. They never had a chance here. They never had a chance. They never had a chance. So, it's just ridiculous, you guys. How do you do this? How do you do this if you like, what is the way forward here? What's the way forward? 600K for a lifelong injury is awfully low. It is, but I don't know what you're gonna do. I don't know what you're gonna do here. I feel sorry for Fox. Fox never had a chance. These people preyed on her because they wanted insurance money, and they didn't give a fuck. They didn't give a fuck to this girl. I mean, that'll buy new boobs, sure. But can retards be gay if they lack the ability to consent? Well, I don't think her ability has some ability, but she's low function. Yeah, it's just it's like the song goes, "When I was young, I knew everything." So, it's so, so sad. Benjamin voices a lot of those stories. Apex, I got your thing, yes. Thank you. Um, it's just I don't know what you do here. Audio's acting up again, Chad, I can't help you, so it's genuinely depressing. Why is getting all choked up? What do you do? I mean, how do you fix these? These kids didn't know. Like, they came to doctors for help, and I've got these medical problems. I mean, just think about how scary, like, this could be any of you. This could be any of your kids. This could be any of your kids, guys. This could be you. You show up to your doctor, and your doctor does all this crazy shit to you, and, like, half the medical industry supports it. The kid never had a fucking chance. And, yeah, okay, fine, she can get implants back. It's not gonna be the same. She's probably gonna have pain and discomfort. She probably can't have kids because of all the fucking shit that she's experienced so far. They basically ruined this woman. I mean, is she really gonna be able to enjoy life, like, compared to what she could have before? I mean, that's the problem here, and that's in this whole trans issue. The kids who get taken advantage of, my heart goes out to them. The adults who kinda get, like, slid along into this, yeah, because a lot of them have mental health issues too, but the kids, they're kids, and they have mental health issues on top of it. There's a reason why as a kid, we don't let you buy a gun, vote, you know, drive a car till a certain age, and there's limits on that. Get a credit card, buy a house, sign contracts. There's all kinds of things we don't let you do. Well, you can't get a tattoo. You need permission for piercings. Like, all this stuff we do for kids. And then this is one where we're just like, fuck it. We're going to let it happen. It's not fair. There's an entire generation of kids now have been butchered. And that's not fair to them. And these medical professionals are going to wander off into the sunset. A lot of them have probably gotten away with it. Statute of limitations issues. Going to be tough sells to get attorneys who can push it. And they got away with being fucking Dr. Mengele. So Yeah. It's sad and disgusting. Yeah. You rely on these people. You rely on your attorney to give you good advice. You rely on your doctor to give you good advice. What do you do? I mean, you don't like what how does that work? Like you're a parent, you go to this doctor. This doctor tells you all kinds of shit. And mom sounds like she's a lawful rocker too. They preyed on these people. They preyed on Fox. They preyed on Fox and they took advantage of her. For what reason? I don't, other than making money, I don't understand. I mean, the psychiatrist could have made money through treatment and racking up the visits. But for some reason, he's like passed off and just billed for a little bit. And then the surgeon had dollar signs in his eyes, probably. Hmm. So, how do you get through the kids? Well, I mean, you defeat the left. Um, she exposed herself to the risk of complications with implants, given how young she is and how long she's expected to have them for. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. She's just now finished fully. Well, she took puberty blockers and shit, so she's not 100% developed anyway. Like all the damage done to her body. Yeah, implants are going to work forever. Man, Marcia says, I wouldn't know because my boobs are all natural. Yeah, but it's awful what they did here. It's awful what they did. So it's sad. It's just a bad, bad thing tonight, guys. I don't know what to tell you. Dark Horses, don't forget to pray the grays away. I agree. I agree. Every doctor can't be as good as Michael Jackson's doctor. Okay. Thank you for that joke. We need a little bit of levity here. Is this like the SRI ADHD wave in the 2000s? I mean, yeah, Trick Slayer, I mean, kind of. But I mean, hopping up kids on meth and amphetamines, is one thing. Doping up kids on SSRIs, yeah, I'm sure we've destroyed generations of children with that. So, is my audio choppy? Once again, guys, I've checked all the plugs, everything's plugged in. Everything's in where it needs to be. I mean, I don't know. I checked everything again. Everything's there. So, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. It does this every once in a while. Oh, you guys saying it's all good? Good. I'm not sure if it's the money the doctor's off or it's ideological capture or both. Oh, have Seamus. It's both. It's both. Like the amount of money, and Stabby was bringing this up. Yes, there was like a conference at Vanderbilt where somebody was in there telling them, like, somebody stood up in front of a bunch of doctors like, you guys don't understand how much money you can make billing the insurance company for this shit. It's an infinite money machine because these people are mental patients. And now we're fucking with their bodies. They're going to need permanent care. And that's the thing when you're transgender. If all this happens, your care never ends. Lifelong care, which means lifelong cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching from the insurance companies. Exactly. It's exactly what that's all about. Kay is still here, says she consented to being butchered. Not really. Remember, kids can't consent. How is $2 million enough to compensate for this? It's not. It's not. But it's a start. It's a start. People are going to feel that. People are going to feel that. So, probably all on disability too. A lot of them are, yeah. BLT says the amphetamines are actually an effective treatment. I'm sure they are for some kids, but I know we've probably the idea that we haven't fucked up a significant number of kids by pumping them full of amphetamines. I mean, I get it at that point, but yeah. Yeah, some of people do require amphetamines. I get it, but not everybody did. Yeah, well, that's what I said, Sweet Tooth. If she wants children, she ain't having kids. I doubt she can. All the hormonal damage done to her body, she's probably fucked. So, um, You know, I just don't know what you got. Like, I just don't know how you fix it. I don't know how you fix it. So a lot of Ritalin kids I went to school with became drug addicts. Well, yeah, but and that's the thing. She probably can't have kids. I'm presuming all the hormone blockers she took destroyed her ability to develop a reproductive system. But there's a reason why we don't like. There's a fear if a child has delayed puberty, it's going to be dangerous to them and detrimental to their well-being. So we make sure they have puberty at the right time. Pausing it is never a good idea. How do they get away with such butchery? Yeah, it's dark. It's dark, dark shit, guys. So, anyways, with that black pill, I know, and like I know there weren't a lot of people here tonight, chat, but what happened to my? It says like I don't have Twitter right now. Oh, huh. It's not saying I'm live on Twitter. Did I go down? Let's see here. Let me see if it shows. Am I live? No. Oh, it shows I'm live. Okay. That's weird. It's just not showing in the StreamYard thing. Yeah, it's the same way Unit 731 gets away with it. It's convenient. Yes. Yep. Trump once says, do you think we'll see kids and adults going vigilantes on these doctors? Probably. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. But yeah, that people are going to find no other way to deal with it. And what better way, fucking mentally ill people will do is they can be extremely violent. And when you've done that and destroyed their lives, guess what happens? Like, oh no, who couldn't have seen this coming? A lot of people. Like there are going to be a lot of shocked Pikachu faces. It's sad what happened. It's sad what happened there. Hold on here in chat. I got to set you guys up with let me see here what I can do. Here we go. Okay, come on. Hold on, chat. I gotta set this up here. Let's see here. Set you guys up for where we're gonna go. We're gonna hang out for a minute, but we're gonna do a chill. No, we're not. I'm not just seeing who's live right now. Is Meme Copium live? Oh, he's live in a little bit. And we'll send you there. I'll send you there as a thing. Brewberries commenting from position here from Australia for $5 doodles. Thank you. Says she's probably going to need reconstructive surgery and tissue expanders where they actually put, because you need more skin now because it took a while your boob skin. They have to inflate your skin and force it to grow so they can make like excess skin. To accommodate implants, the painful and slow process. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, this is not good. This is not good. Yeah, why, Gary? Why? Imagine the nursing homes with dementia patients who are going to be looking for their penises. Those people are going to lose their fucking minds. Matt Marcia says, "Do all plastic surgeons even do it?" There are under 18-year-olds who have had nose jobs and boob jobs and stuff. A lot of times, mainly though, for under 18, it's usually breast reduction. But there are like it has happened. It's just very hard to find a doctor willing to do it. Yeah, SSRIs can reprogramming. Yeah, but they do. For some people, they help with things when you're going through a bad spot. And there's nothing wrong with trying to work on things. Trenches says, I thought you were going to dunk on Confiscate. Well, I don't know what they're going to do, but yeah, I'm going on with the word Raptor Jesus but it's at like 11. So, like that's a ways away. And if you guys want to go, like, you're going to have to hang out in this chat and just like do nothing. So that's all I was trying to give you guys something to do, chat. But anyways,
Models and riots. Well, there's not a whole lot of rioting right now. Anyways, here is what's going on for later tonight for Lord Raptor Jesus. We'll also be hanging out with my friend Wiggle. You might know him as Outer Pangea and all that. So maybe we can watch Clyde, yeah. Matt Marchus said, I did have a friend who was 18 that had a boob reduction, but it wasn't a mastectomy level reduction. No, but there are kids out, like, there are girls out there who have had, like, I think, like, on the show, like, there's every once in a while, like, it can cause back problems. Like, there was a girl in my church, she had that problem. She went to a different school, but, like, she had to go for a surgery because, like, apparently it was, like, really hurting her back. I mean, at the time when you're, like, 16, you're like, how could big titties be a bad thing? Like, how can they really hurt your back? But apparently it's really fucking excruciating if you have big old honkers. So, yeah. We hang out and chat all the time, though. Okay, so here's the big old titties get heavy. Yes, it could definitely be a back thing, yeah. So, they limit your potential as a teen. Potential. Nico says, don't hurt my back. Well, I have a pretty strong, like, being a big fat sack of shit, my back's strong enough to handle the weight. Oh, do my tits give me issues? Only that your mom is very jealous of them. So, only that your mom is very jealous. Hashtag says, I had a client with 3 reductions. They keep growing. No, that's not, you're fucking with me. How do they keep growing? Like, I get, like, fat keeps building up there. Is that what you mean? Like, the fat keeps repositing? Or does she keep growing breast tissue? Because that seems like that's fake. That seems like that's fake. That seems like that's fake. I think you're taking the piss, as Cog might say. Sweet Tooth Fairy says, as a double D, I can attest. Well, there you go. It's a blessing and a curse. It's like Jay-Z's, like the blueprint, the gift and the curse. Brewberry says, I see a lot of male patients who get gynecomastia, man boob removal surgery. I don't have, no, mine's just because I'm fat. If I lost a lot of weight, they would not be there. So I'm fine. Losing weight takes care of the problem. Oh. Sometimes it can be having the wrong bra measurements. Oh. Yeah, they're the magic growing boobs. Yeah. Yeah, she got me on that one. Like I said, I thought there was something weird about that. I'm like, you're not fucking with me? Oh. Yes, apparently we lasered down a cartel drone and hadn't closed the airport yet. But apparently the El Paso airport got shut down for a couple of days. So, Stacey said, I would need a lot of skin surgery. Yeah, but you know what? I'll deal with that when I get to that point. It's a bridge. I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. How about the lady who took Monjaro and now has gigantomastia? What? So she took a GLP and now her titties exploded. That's interesting. You're gonna find all kinds of like A-cup women just like taking Monjaro for fun now. Oh, it's open already again? I thought they were closing it for like 10 days. All right. Well, there we go. That's what I said. Gigantomastia is a condition. Yeah. So, all right. But with that said, guys, hope she wins on appeal. Like, hope she survives the appeal. I don't think there'll be any reductions in the award. So, while it doesn't mean much to her, my congratulations go out to Fox. You got justice. I'm sorry. That's this justice doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot, but it's, from looking at the chart, it's a lot more than your compatriots have, gotten, which is a sad fact. So, I wish it was more. I wish it was more, but and I wish they could give you a time machine so you go back and fix it, but they can't. They can't, sadly. Let's see here. What's Nick's obsession with Kurt? Something his psychiatrist needs to probably work with him on. So the farms has interesting commentary on that, but I don't know. It's something I'm sure his psychiatrist would tell him is not healthy. So yeah. Yeah. How'd the Murdaugh thing go? I didn't see it yet. I heard about it. I saw some clips on Twitter. Probably Saturday we'll watch that. We'll watch that because I want to see it on my own. I want to see it on my own. I know Emily covered it. I know Kurt covered it. And then you know, Nick, EFAP'd Kurt's coverage of it. I don't know who else covered it, but I think I want to cover it. It'll probably be Saturday. I'll do it Saturday for like an early show, and then I'll do something late. I probably won't do anything later. So there we go. That's kind of the end of everything there. James says, that's sad. Why the retrial? Well, I don't know if he's going to get one. Remember, in an appeal, you're always fighting uphill, so the odds are not in his favor. I don't know how good it was. Helen Dolly covered it too. Okay, Peter Tragos covered it already. Okay, a lot of people have covered it. Thank you. Lots of founding fathers. What's on a Dr. Furnace crime stream? A couple different things. Here. Let's see. What do we got? Some more things about the Fulton County, like the probable cause affidavit has been unsealed. ICE, the body camera issues. Savannah Guthrie's mom is still unsolved at this point. There's a couple bills going through state legislators right now about 3D printers and requiring them to be flashed so you can't put guns on them, or also requiring background checks for them and registering them. Clavicular, his thing, he got arrested and his charges got dumped. Also, what's going on with Fudbusters? Fudbusters is being sued by the state of California. And we'll go into that a little bit. I might take you 2.0 for Valentine's Day. I'm not sure. I when she gets back, we'll talk. But if she's up for it, I'd like to. But I don't know how she's going to be feeling. Let's see. Is she confirmed dead? No, but I'm pretty sure she's dead. The way they talked about it, like we want to celebrate, and that means she's dead. Did I miss Pam Bondi? No, I'll talk about tomorrow. I mean, I haven't even watched any of it. But I've told you before. I told you from the start, Pam Bondi is a retard. I don't need to sit there and watch a bunch of retards in the house joust with an even bigger retard in Pam Bondi. I mean, literally, it was going to be retard jousting. No shit. Not saying to you, Afton, but just in general. Have I looked at the Edric Faust case at all? I saw the clip where the guy opens up the envelope and there's no evidence inside of it. But I have not gotten that far yet, John. We'll have to work on that one too. Apparently it's fucking insane, though. Apparently it's insane. Yeah, EDW. We'll go over Fudbusters for tomorrow. Just not tonight. We got to save stuff for tomorrow. So I kept wondering where the grown-ups were. Yeah, and I've heard this too. Pam Bondi is in Scientology. Are you cooking or going out for Valentine's Day? I don't know yet. 2.0 was on her trip, and I wasn't, I was kind of figuring, we'll talk about that, but I'm not sure what she wants to do. I'll get in touch with her. I'm actually probably going to call her after this is over because she called right in the middle of this, so I need to get a hold of her. let me see here. Did I miss anything else? Nope. We're all caught up, chat. Yeah, I heard the DNA experts are terrible. The factual timing of like how things occurred don't make a whole lot of sense either. Like the whole thing is completely garbage. So don't worry. I've heard a lot about it, and Law and Crime has been clipping the shit out of it. So it must be good. It must be good. Yes, apparently it's 100 times worse than Karen Reed. So with that said, chat, we are going to end it for here. Did I see the Ohio State professor attack? Yes. Yeah, that is not proportional force. Yeah. So, hope it's a good one. We're just doing short ribs. I mean, like, I don't know. 2.0 is not a big rib person. So, maybe I'll take her to, I don't know where I'll take her. She wants to go anywhere. I'm not sure. Maybe she'll want me to, we'll talk about that tomorrow when I pick her up from the airport. And, if I was thinking about making dinner for her on Saturday, but if she doesn't want that, we'll go somewhere. But I was planning on making it, but I would, tomorrow talk to her about like, hey, what do you want? And then we'll go to I'll order on Giant Eagle and go pick it up. LaRousse Chris, yeah. When it comes to steaks, you could cook a steak as good as anywhere you can go, if not better. So, Dirty Eric says, I'm doing chemo for Valentine's Day. Well, hey, good luck to you, man. Hope you kick the shit out of cancer. Keep kicking its ass. Good luck to you, man. Good luck to you. Hang in there. Say a prayer for you. Heart-shaped PB&J sandwiches. Edward Scott says, don't you have to get to a good places for Valentine's Day? I mean, I don't know. Like, I'd like to make her dinner. I have some things in mind. If she doesn't say that she wants that, then yeah, like we're getting a pizza for Valentine's Day because there's nowhere to go. It's like either that or Applebee's. And it's like, no. I have an idea of what I want to make her, but if she doesn't want me to make it, I'm kind of out of ideas. A nice dinner out at Applebee's. Yeah, I know. We can have Sargon serve us. But no, I have a plan, but I hope she doesn't say like but here's the other thing. Or if she asks for something else, hopefully it's something I can make. Or maybe we'll make it together and like, teamwork. So. Well, that's it, chat. We're going to wrap this up. I will see you guys tomorrow under 3 hours. So let's finish this. And just remember until next time, all of you guys. Also, John K. Jesus loves you. Stacy, hello, all of you guys. Johan, hello as well. Also, I wanted to say one more thing real quick. No, actually, hold on. Just because you did it does not mean you're guilty. And except these doctors are guilty as fuck. Last night, guys, thank you so much for showing some love to Ryan Mullally out there, especially like free birding him a little bit. And, I appreciate you guys. He enjoys it. So thank you so much, guys. Good night. Well, thank you. Anyways, good night, chat. Take care, and I'll see you guys later. Let's get the road.
Weapons, blacksmithing, and models of planes, esoteric works, and even some trains. Much merriment had while drinking White Claws, tips on hunting, and even talking the law. Whatever you do, just don't talk to cops, even when they nab you on illegal stops. Just 'cause you did it doesn't mean you're guilty, but please talk to a local attorney. Was that the fat guy?